There you go. Come on. So I want to first let you know that everything we're talking about is modeled after Sam and Sharnessa's marriage, the good, the bad, the ugly. So we're getting all this from what we've learned from them of what not to do. So it's perfect. So we appreciate that. But thank you so much, Pastor Sam, Sharnessa, Chuck, Nancy, for having us. It's an honor and a privilege to be able to be here. We're thankful that you're here. Yeah. And I know if this was California, nobody would be here because it's raining just a little bit. So the fact that you guys endure, you show up, and the fact that you showed up to invest in your marriage.
Way tougher than Californians.
Way tougher than Californians, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So the fact that you showed up to invest in your marriage means a lot. So let me ask you this question. How many of you are here willingly? Let's be honest, this is the house of God, so we're not going to lie. So how many of you are here willingly? I love that. There's a few holdouts. So those that are holding out, come to the front. Right there, I see you in the back row. I told you I'd make you move. But how many of you also have a perfect marriage? You do. I know you're laughing because you're like, absolutely, I totally get that, right? We do not. Like, we're always consistently always in process. We have 31 years of marriage, and we are still trying to figure it out. There are days she is not my favorite person. Right? Just this morning, we were on the edge of her not being my favorite person before we got here.
What happened?
Just thoughts that I had in my head about you. There's nothing you actually did. It was just things I was thinking about.
The morning went well.
It was good. So, we know we don't come from a place of having a perfect marriage, right? But it reveals so much when you show up to invest into your marriage, to what God can do when you're ready, available, and open. And so I want to start here. So this morning, actually, while I was praying, I had this image come to my mind of Gladiator and Braveheart. How many of you love those movies? Yeah. All the guys are like, yes, right? That image of, Mel Gibson, his face painted, of Maximus in the arena, right? I love that. But there's something about that. There was this opposition they had against tyranny, right? To fight for something that they were giving themselves to be in that battle, to be in that arena, to be on that front line. And there was something about their defiance, that they were defying, really, what was fighting against them. So as we start this morning, I want to tell you, I want you to have a defiant marriage. So turn to your spouse and tell them, let's have a defiant marriage. Tell them strong. Right? Now turn to the person who's not your spouse and say, be defiant. And what does that actually mean, right? Defiant is to push against the enemy, right? When we think of defiance, we think about fighting against maybe each other. But what if marriage was defined by fighting alongside one another, fighting alongside, locking arms together, fighting against the enemy that is trying to attack, devour, and come into our marriage? What if we were fighting for our hearts, fighting for the heart of God? Right? What if we were fighting for one another, defiant against the enemy? See, we know the math in marriage is 2 will become 1, right? 1 plus 1 in marriage equals 1. Until you get married and you roll over and there's this person next to you breathing the devil's breath right on you. You're like, who is this person? Right? That squeezes a toothpaste from the middle of the tube, right? And then leaves it there. Who is this person, right? Everything's great up until that point. We had to learn in our marriage how to be defiant, how to understand that it's not just Shannon, myself, and God in this marriage, but also the enemy who wants to attack and bring division. And so in your marriage, as we start out, I want you to have this clarity that we are called to have a fighting spirit within our marriage, to have a fighting spirit. And what does that mean? To be able to not fight against one another, but for one another. To give ourselves completely to one another. Now, some of you walked into this room in different seasons of life and different seasons within your marriage. Some of you, maybe you're here, it's like, we need a refreshing, a reviving, and I love that you desire to invest in your marriage. Some of you, it's a difficult season. Maybe you've tied that last knot at the end of your marriage rope and you're not sure what is next. But regardless of the season we find ourselves in, I want to tell you something that we have learned in our marriage that God is able. That God is able, and you are not. And he didn't give you a marriage because you were able. He gave you a marriage because he is able. Your marriage was just a beautiful demonstration of the grace, of the goodness, of the love of God to a world that is around you. And so regardless of the season that you're in, I want you to lean in. Because, yes, there is hope and there is a future of what God wants to do, regardless of how many years you have been married, you're new in marriage, you're hanging on, or you're thriving. I want to go here. On September 11th, 2001, at 8:41 a.m. in the morning, everything changed for us as a country. The Twin Towers fell on that day. That was a symbol of grandeur. It was a symbol of strength that was no longer there. In the years that followed, they had to reimagine how they were going to rebuild. How would they put something there in honor of what was? And the thing is, you couldn't build something new from what was there, from the twisted metal, from the ashes, from the fallen building. You had to reimagine. They had to excavate. They had to think through, what could we build again that would honor where we've come from? And I believe so it's true in a lot of our marriage, a lot of our lives right now. Like, how will we build something new, refreshing and honoring to God? Maybe you've built a marriage that has crumbled, or the beauty that was no longer is. Maybe the years have been tough. Maybe they've been a little bit difficult. And you recognize there's a need to shift. There's a need for refreshing, to reimagine, to rebuild. And we can't rebuild from maybe what was. But that, again, is the invitation of what God wants to do. I stood in the altar in 1993 next to my bride. And I had no idea what was next. They say first comes the wedding and then comes the war. Right? And we experienced the war, which I will unpack for you here in just a bit, in the first 5 years of our marriage. But I was entering into a covenant. I knew that, but I did not know what I was saying I do to. I didn't know in that season the pain that we would go through in the first 5 years of our marriage. I didn't know the brokenness that I would experience. I didn't know the difficulty of how to move forward from the expectations I had of our marriage to what I was experiencing in that moment. I had no idea how God was going to make her into the woman that I wanted her to be. Right? You come into marriage with expectations. But I had no idea that the first 5 years would almost end us. Shannon was very difficult to live with. You guys got to lighten up on me here. But the truth is, she actually was very difficult to live with. Or I was difficult to live with.
Maybe we both were.
I think we both were. But I didn't know what we would experience in those first 5 years. And as I just told you a moment ago, but God. But God. But God. We can stand here today as a testament to what God can and what he will do when we have a surrendered, yielded life first and foremost to him and then to one another. My greatest joy, my greatest privilege every day is to serve and honor God and to serve my wife. Those two things, and that is it. And the result of that, of why we get to do what we get to do, is legacy. It's for my 2 daughters and my soon-to-be grandbaby that's coming in August. Legacy. I didn't know if we'd be standing here today. but I do know that God is able. So we want you to reimagine what God can do, what he wants to revive, what he wants to refresh. Allow him to excavate in this next couple of hours in your life, to bring to the surface those areas that need to be exposed, that he wants to work on in and through you. Because here's what we know to be true. In Colossians 1:17 it says, he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. He is the creator of all things. He's a creator of this beautiful illustration of his love in marriage. And he holds all things together in him. And who are we to think that he is not enough? That he is not enough? The enemy cannot tear down what God has established unless you allow him in. Unless you allow him in. And who are you and I to deny what God can and will do? See, the end of you is the beginning of God. The end of self within our marriage is the beginning of what God can and what he will do in and through our lives. Because again, God is able. You are part, and I'm not sure if you recognize this, and we're just opening up right now, but you are part of God's redemptive plan to heal one another in your marriage, to image Christ to your family, your friends, to those around you. You recognize that your marriage has a generational impact. And here's the thing is the enemy knows that your marriage has a generational impact. He knows this. And guess what? Your spouse is not the enemy. Now, you may have made them the enemy, but they are not your enemy. But your marriage has this generational impact that will impact not only your children, but your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, and generations to come. It has a generational impact. James 4:17 says, therefore to him who knows to do good and does not do it, to him it is sin. To him who knows to do good in marriage and does not do it, it is sin. To him who knows to die to self and serve the other, to him it is sin. To him who knows to serve and pursue their spouse and does not do it, it is sin. To him who knows to forgive, to release, to let go, to trust God with their marriage and does not do it, it is sin. And we tell you that we don't stand in a place of perfection, but we recognize that every thought, every decision, everything that we do on a daily basis impacts our marriage in some way. How many of you believe that marriage is hard? Woo, there's a lot of you. So there's a lot of you that believe that marriage is hard. Here's what we actually believe. You make it hard. Think about that for just a moment. Can it be difficult and frustrating? Right? Are there days that person next to you are like, I have words. I'm done. Like there are moments and there are times when you want to throw in that towel. Marriage can seem like it's hard. I believe we make it hard. We can make it hard with the choices, the decisions that we make. I've heard people say, oh, they make me so mad. They make me so angry. Have you heard that, Jim? Yeah. Jim, right? Yeah. Right? Penny. I got it. Rob. I forgot. I promise not to call your name out, so I won't call your name out. Pam. Did I get it? Yeah. People say, oh, they made me do it. They make me so angry. Really? They made you? You still have a choice and the decision of how you're going to respond. No one can make you angry. Your spouse can't make you upset. You choose to be upset. Now, their actions may be upsetting and frustrating. I understand that. You may have that emotion of anger. I get that. But they can't make you. We still choose. And what happens is we allow things into our marriage. And at times, we allow apathy to come into our marriage. And apathy comes in when we choose self. When we choose self, making the purpose of marriage all about ourselves. And no one signs up for marriage intentionally say, I'm going to be malicious towards my spouse and I'm going to implode this marriage. How many of you have said that? At the altar. This will be great. I'm going to implode this thing. It's going to be terrible the first number of years. No one says that. But we allow things into our marriage. Apathy can set in. I recognize for us that constantly marriage is this mirror. That she's constantly reflecting back at me the ways that maybe I have not engaged, that I have not pursued, or that I have not loved her or been available. How many of you husbands have walked in and your spouse is in the kitchen and you get home from work and she's a little bitey with you, she's a little frustrated, she's a little short-tempered? None of you. Okay, let me be straight with something. I really want to come down here. I'm like on the edge, like I need to come down.
Do you want to go down?
How many,
Go walk down.
like, let's be honest. I need you to talk back at me, okay? We're going to be raw and real here. We're going to say it like it is. We're going to challenge you, but we need you to also be open, be vulnerable. This is a place where you can do that, okay? It's okay if your wife is going to nudge you, right, with her elbow and you walk out of here with some bruises. It's okay, right? Let's be honest. So are there moments where sometimes you walk in and they're a little frustrated, you're like, what is going on? Seriously, what's happening? Why is she acting that way? What did I do? I just walked in the door. You know you all think that. You won't say it because you're afraid of her. Stop it. Enough. Okay. Husband, this is how you not be afraid of your wife. I won't go there. But you come in and you don't like maybe how she's responding or how she's, responding towards you or the words that she's using. And here's the thing that sucks. Can I say suck? I said it. Here's the thing. Your spouse typically is just reflecting back at you the ways that you maybe haven't shown up, where you haven't been present, where you haven't been available, where maybe you've been disconnected. It's not because I just walked in the door and she's already frustrated with me. No. It's because she's reflecting back at me ways that maybe, hey, I haven't been pursuing her in this season like I normally do. Hey, we haven't connected. And you know what's tough about that? I have to pause for a moment and say, what's actually going on here? Why is she responding that way? What's actually happening behind her emotions, her feelings, and the way she's treating me? And I have to take what? Ownership. Responsibility. Hey, how can I make this better? We talk about this often, that behind every criticism or complaint is a wish or a want.
I feel like you're going to trip and die.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah, which would make for a great marriage workshop. Okay, there.
See how she cares for me? She didn't want me to die even though we just renewed our life insurance policy. Like she had an opportunity. She missed it. Behind every complaint or criticism is a wish or a want. Really? You're going to go play golf again? Really? You're going fishing again? I've heard that one. Really? What she's actually saying is, hey, I miss you. Hey, we haven't spent time together. Hey, there's something that I want to be able to connect. Marriage is a mirror. So this morning, as we go into early afternoon, it's a moment of decision, of declaration for you. Because today and every day, you make a decision. You're either pulling hell up into your marriage or you're pulling heaven down into your marriage. Which one are you doing? You're pulling hell up or you're pulling heaven down. It's a choice. And so much of this is dependent upon you and your walk with God, your intimacy with Him. Out of the overflow of your relationship with God, you will be able to love your spouse well. Do you understand that? The basis, the foundation, and we're going to talk about this in a moment, the reason for marriage is God. Out of the overflow of your walk with God, can you love your spouse well? In the moments when I'm not doing well as a husband and I know it, are the times when I'm out of sync in relationship with my Heavenly Father. When I'm on my knees before God, I can be on my knees before her, serving her. But I have to be in that position, humbled, But when I walk with God and that intimacy with him is good, I'm able to love her well out of that overflow of our walk. We are called, right, to be on our knees praying for our spouse. Not so they can change to make things better for you. How many of you have prayed that prayer? Oh God, please, would you work in their lives? Would you change this in them? They're not being kind to me. Help them be kind to me. You've made it all about you. You're not praying for your spouse. You're praying about them to make things better for you. You all have done that, haven't you? Yes. But we're called to pray over them, right? To stand with them. The battle in marriage is fought on your knees. So our good friends, Victor and Eileen Marks, we were actually just with them in Colorado not too long ago with them, and we had this conversation, and he said, I'd rather go fight ISIS than work with married couples. And I'm like, yes and amen. I 100% agree with you. Me too. I'd rather be doing that this morning. I'm kidding. But they also talk about something that we have always loved, that we fight together, not against one another, but we fight together. And how we do that is we fight back to back. What happens when you're fighting back to back? What happens? No facial expressions? I can't see her attitude. I can't see her roll her eyes. Okay, that's a good one. I like that. But no. What happens? She's got my 6, right? She's got my 6. Back to back. What happens when the enemy's coming? We can see all around us what's taking place, what's attacking. I've got her back. She's got my back. But what happens when we fight nose to nose? When I'm right here in her face and you are, and I can't believe you did this.
Then I'm going to punch.
Probably so, and she's done that only a couple times. But what I don't see is what is coming and what is happening.
Well,
what I see is what I don't like right now.
You're going to get attacked.
And we're going to get attacked. But when you fight back to back, that's when you're powerful. When you're praying for them, when you're standing with them. That's what you're called to do, to fight back to back, not nose to nose. How many of you are great nose to nose conflict fighters, right? That's where you stand. Back to back. We know and we have seen that we are right now living in a society and a culture where marriages are under attack. Your marriage, you have to know right now, is under assault. Your marriage is the greatest threat to the enemy, more than anything else. He is not threatened by you as an individual, but you together in your marriage with God, you are a threat. 746,000 marriages end every single year in the U.S. in divorce. That's 2,043 marriages that crumble every single day. 85 every hour. 1.4 every minute. I'm not sure where the 0.4 is. Maybe it's a quarter of the marriage. I'm not sure. So again, let's be clear. You have an enemy, and it's not your spouse. But many of you have made your spouse the enemy. And we live in this culture that's trying to dismantle the story of God that he's written, especially in the area of marriage, where society wants to define the nuclear family. They want to degrade the sanctity of marriage. You're seeing that right now, right? There's an assault on marriage and the story of God's love that's most beautifully displayed in your marriage. Listen, we do not live in a non-biblical society. We live in an anti-biblical society right now that's fighting against marriage. So we have to come back. When you tremble at his word, your marriage will not succumb to the world's ideals of marriage. And maybe for some of you in this room today, it's going to be about a new marriage, but same person. A new marriage, same person. To re-excavate, again, to reimagine, to rebuild of what God can do. So is there hope? No, there's not. Sorry. No, there is. There is hope. How many of you, Shannon's going to come up here in a moment and talk a little bit about just our story and kind of how we arrived to where we're at, and then we'll jump into a couple other things. But can you guys be honest and vulnerable for a moment? And it's okay, because there's no judgment here. There's no condemnation. But first, how many would say that the years of your marriage have been all pretty easy? Oh, there's not a single person. It's not a single person besides Pastor Sam back there. But they've all been easy. How many of you would be vulnerable enough to say, like, there's some hard moments, and we're in some right now? Okay? I see you. And again, I just want to bring you back to that place, because I know what God can do. I've seen what God can do. I've seen what he's able to do when we finally come to the end of ourselves. When we come to the end of our own strength and ability, and we recognize that, man, you've been given a gift in God's daughter, the daughter of the King. And when women, you realize that he is a son of the King. And so in a moment, we're going to do something kind of like to further expound on what we just talked about right now. But I want you to be in a place to be ready and prepared, and start thinking about right now why you're here. Because even if it's just a refreshing or reviving, or there's some things going on, why are you here? And we'll talk about setting some things up as well in terms of like some ground rules and how we're going to proceed for the rest of the afternoon. But I'm going to allow Shannon to speak now. That's kind of how we operate. Typically, like, she submits really, really well. She submits really, really well. I am kidding, guys, okay? There's times that we'll go into the supermarket and she'll be walking down the aisle and I'll just yell, "Woman, submit!" People love it. Like, they stop, they're like, what just happened, right? Try it. It's fun. It's a good Saturday afternoon activity, but no. Why? We are mutually submitted to God, and therefore we are mutually submitted to one another. So you may speak, Shannon.
I may speak. Well, thank you, honey. Thank you. I got my fan base over here. Javi, I don't know where yours is at. I'm going to have to keep my glasses on. Somehow we got old, and now we're going to have grandchildren, and I need reading glasses all the time. But we're so excited to be here with you today. It's an honor, it's a privilege to come and do these, because we get to meet people all across the United States, and it's so fun. Meeting people at Pacific Northwest. We'll be in Flagstaff next weekend with another group of people. And you know what? Different regions, different people, different lifestyles, same problems. Mm-hmm. Same problems. Communication, finances, conflict, family, sex, you name it. All the same problems. But it is really good to be here with you today. I know that you're going to leave here changed. I know that you're going to leave here different, because that's what our prayer has been all week leading up to this. So a little bit about 24/7 marriage and who we are and how we arrived here. Javi and I have been in ministry for over 18 years. Early on, we were counseling and ministering to people, and about 14 years ago, we established 24/7 marriage. And in a response to the brokenness that we saw in 2020, Sam, you want to put up that one slide? We decided to take the work that we do on the road full time. We sold our house, we sold our cars, and we went on the road full time in what we call the Marriage Lab. It's a 38-foot fifth wheel mobile support marriage unit that we travel in, we live in. We've coached and mentored couples inside of there. But this has enabled us to move all around the country and continue doing workshops like this, doing boot camps and conferences and speaking all over. And honestly, when we started, I said, I'm only going to do this for a year, But here we are 3 years later, and we're still doing it because we're being obedient to what God is calling us to do. So you can see those cartoon characters up there of us, which is really fun.
And be praying because you said we live in 38 feet together all the time. So you can be praying for me.
So our mission is really simple, and that is restoring hope, redeeming stories, and building strong marriages. And we are going to restore hope with you here today. We're going to redeem some stories back, and you're going to leave here with some tools to keep building a strong marriage. So Javier and I met about 34 years ago on a junior high campus. Javi had a mustache. He was 13 years old. Maybe he was 14. And
No, a mustache and a mullet.
and a trench coat. I don't know why the trench coat, but
That was a catch.
That was his look. And we met in junior high, and we won't even say what I looked like. I think I had a perm. I still had braces on. I didn't wear shoes to school, which Javi likes to point out. I did wear shoes, so he likes to always say I wore slippers. But my slippers did have a sole, so I wasn't just like walking around campus in socks, okay? Everybody likes to like point that out. But we were quite the catch. I mean, it's pretty scary. We should probably put a slide up. I should add that into.
That'd be a good photo, yeah.
Hey, by the way, if you see this QR code up here, if you have a question, you just open up your camera, click on that yellow bar, it'll take you to a text message, and it'll say, my marriage question is, you can ask us a question. At the end of our sessions today, I'll have all the questions on my phone, and we're going to go through them. So that's for you guys, so take advantage of that in between the breaks too. So we come from a place of having experienced difficult seasons in marriage. We did not arrive here with the perfect marriage, and we thought that we would just get on the marriage ministry train and teach people the perfect way to have the perfect marriage. It doesn't happen, it doesn't exist because we are two broken people. Turn off all the lights, neither one of us are glowing in the dark. Amen? Yeah. So our first 5 years, as we call it, were not easy years. We are here today it's been birthed out of where we have been. And it was painful. And as Javier already pointed out, I was the problem.
She's telling you the truth. Like, I had everything figured out from day one of marriage. So I was pretty solid.
He doesn't get off the hook. Even though I was the problem, there were things that he needed to work on, and God was inviting him into as well. So, if you are here today and you might be the problem, solidarity. I love you. We're in this together. I am a strong personality. I would say my element is fire, and if you find yourself in that place, I am here for you to give you a hug later. So, as I said, our elements. So, if Javier and I were to describe ourselves as elements, Javier would be earth. He is nurturing. He is stable. He is calm. He's life-giving. That's what he is. I, on the other hand, would be described as fire. Let's say that those first 5 years, the earth got scorched a lot. I came into our marriage with guns a-blazing. I had a get-out-of-my-way attitude. Being married to me would have sent most men running. Yet Javier ran towards me. I had a theme song to my life, you guys. My theme song since junior high was Billy Joel's My Life. I don't need you to worry for me because I'm all right. I don't want you to tell me it's time to go home. I don't care what you say anymore. This is my life. Go ahead with your own life and leave me alone. Anybody else? That's a great theme song. I hate sharing this part of the story, but I wish I could stand here and say that it was all Javier. I wish that he was the problem and I was the one suffering, but it's not. I was the one. The first 5 years of our marriage were hard because I came in very naive. I had a don't tell me what to do kind of attitude. Anybody else in the room? Am I alone? I'm the only one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, there's more of us here. I behaved unkind and unloving. I emasculated Javier publicly and privately. I demeaned, I insulted him. I was horrible. I was literally horrible to him. I desperately wanted to be married. I was so excited to get married, but I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea how to love, respect, and honor this man. I had no idea what I was doing, how to do it. See, all of this trauma, all of this that I brought into my marriage, it came from somewhere. Did you all know that you guys bring some luggage into your marriage? Okay, some 3-piece sets, little carry-on maybe. Okay, so I backed up a U-Haul and it went beep, 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 beep. The door rolls up, out falls my stuff. Yeah, okay. I won't say how long the U-Haul was.
I had a toiletry bag, so I was pretty easy. That's all I had.
It could have been full of small explosives.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. So at 15, I had a crisis pregnancy in high school. And although going through that, I made the choice to bring my baby to life, and she was adopted. And that baby girl is now 35 years old today. What happened and transpired in the hospital room, just going through a crisis pregnancy, left me scared, left me with questions of my own self-worth. Will anyone ever love me? Will anyone ever see past this decision, this crisis that I caused, the crisis that I brought to my family, to my friends? There was so much pain and hurt. And I unpack more of the story at our boot camp. So if you want to know more about the story, you have to come to boot camp. But what happened in that moment, and whatever trauma or crisis or thing that you experience that maybe some of the issues in your marriage today, we sometimes make an inner vow with ourselves. And we don't know that we do it. I didn't know that I made an inner vow till later it was revealed to me through mentoring, counseling, coaching, and you have these God moments where God's like, so this is what you did. And you're like, oh, I see. So I made this inner vow with myself that nobody was going to tell me what to do. Nobody was going to be in control of me. I'm in control of myself. See, that crisis pregnancy, it's called a crisis for a reason, caught me off guard. I wasn't planning that. I wasn't expecting that. I thought I knew what I was doing. And I got caught off guard. So I made an inner vow that nobody was going to tell me what to do. That inner vow, that choice, does not bode well in marriage. Let me tell you right now. It didn't go well. And so I carried that trauma into our marriage, and we had a really hard 5 years. We call it our first 5. And, we were married at the ripe old age of 20 and 19, and we think we had it all figured out. We were young, we were married, we didn't know what we were doing.
No clue.
I look back at our video, I think it's on DVD now, and I look at that girl, and I'm like, I don't even know who she is. I don't even know who she is. And here's the thing, when I look at that girl, and I say that, I'm reminded of how desperately I needed God and how good He is. Because when I look at that video and I think of us now, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one way to arrive here. And as we're actually teaching a workshop at a church, let me just be very clear. There is no book, there is no seminar, there is no workshop, there is no boot camp, there is no marriage conference that is going to save your marriage. They're going to help you, and they're going to give you some great tools. But we do what we do because we believe that our marriage is a testimony of what God has done. There are things that I had to change. There are things that Javi had to change. We had to set boundaries. We had to pray. We had to do different things. But I'm telling you that a book didn't get us to where we are today. This seminar we went to 20 years ago didn't save our marriage. It gave us great tools. But getting on our knees before Jesus, repenting of where we've been, asking God to come in and be the center of this marriage is what's changed it. We sold everything and went on the road full time because we are so sold out that we believe that God will meet you here today. He will meet you here today.
Amen.
And we stand here and we say to you, us too. Us too. And your marriage has a 100% chance of success because of God.
Amen.
Because of God.
Amen. Pastor Sam, is there a way for me to get down here with a, I'll just take this podium. I'm just going to do what I want to do.
Are we going to be apart or are we splitting up?
You can join me, but I just want to be closer to you people. Is that okay?
Now I feel left out.
No, that's fine. I'm just going to be right here.
Should I stay up here?
No, you can you can come down with me.
I like lording over you though.
It's perfect. This feels better to me because I just need to be close to you. I just feel too distant from you. I feel like it's just up there, but that's where you should be because that's I want to elevate you and I want you. That's how I think of you. So, points for me. All right, score for me. This is better. Okay, listen. Nothing else matters compared to you being here right now, investing in the one relationship that will impact everything in your life. Everything. So, we honor, we celebrate that you're here, that you're making your marriage a priority. So we want to, as we go forward, want to set some expectations for the rest of this morning. You do not have a marriage problem or issue. You have a you problem and a you problem happening in marriage. Oftentimes we think we got a marital issue. No, you got a you issue probably. That's happening in your marriage. It's easy to say, oh, no, I have a she issue. Oh, I still have a Penny issue, right? No, we can easily say, I've got this issue. No, you have a you problem and a you problem happening in marriage that has surfaced in your marriage. It's causing marital stress or pressure. But it's you, right? It's easy to say it's the other person. But then we go back to that word of ownership. Also, today, do not make this about your spouse. What you feel your spouse needs. What you hope that we say and they hear, because you've been trying to get them to hear that for a long time. Some of you emailed me, and I appreciate that, of what you want me to say for your spouse. That's great. You can easily say, oh, I am so glad that they said that because, she needs that. Oh, he needs that. I hope they say this. What's going to happen if you do that? You're going to miss out what God has for you. Your ears will be closed because you're so focused on what you hope they hear to make things better for you. Gosh, shouldn't we be intent on saying, how can I, got to be changed and transformed, restored and renewed, and therefore make things better for my spouse because of who I am? Make this about you, which seems kind of odd when you're talking about you're in a marriage workshop. Well, I thought this was about us. It is, but it's got to be about you so you don't miss what God has for you. So you're not focused on what you think your spouse needs. The next thing, you're not everything you could be, and you know it. It's time to reset. And also, what if better is not what God is doing for you, but what God is doing in and through you? Sometimes we think better is, God, do this for me and it will be better. But what if better right now in your life and in your marriage is what God wants to do in and through you that will impact your marriage? What if better right now is going deeper and not higher right now? What if better is actually going deeper into what you might be struggling to find healing and restoration rather than going higher? How many of you had faced difficulties and struggles in your life and your marriage, and you're like, I do not want to go through that. I'd rather go this way. Oftentimes, we want to plan on where we want to be, but we also want to plan on how we're going to arrive there fully, right? That'd be great. But God says, no. No, I'm going to shape you. I'm going to mold you. There's a quote that says, the greatest gift God has given you is a full-length mirror called your spouse. And if there was a card attached to it, it would have said, here's to discovering what you're really like. And this is true. What if it's not going higher but deeper? What if it's Him doing a work in you to change you in order that you experience the best marriage? How many of you do want a mediocre marriage that just gets by? You're just skating by. No, we don't sign up for that. Yet look at what you've planted in your marriage. Look at maybe the seeds that you have planted. And now you're seeing a year or 2, 3 down the road that you're harvesting what you have been planting in your marriage. Every day, as we mentioned, every thought, every decision, you are creating the future reality of your marriage. You're creating the future reality of your marriage, and you have to have ownership of that. So when you walked in, or I believe while you were sitting here, you were handed some Post-it notes. If you don't have, I'm sure that we can hand some out if you don't have one. But I want you to do a quick activity for me. I want you to take your Post-it notes, and each of you can do this, please. And you can hand it to one person. You're going to see 2 posters on the side of the wall here that say, why are you here? Right? You see one over there and one over here. It says, why are you here? What needs to change? What needs to shift? The answer is not my spouse, he or she needs to change. That's why I'm here. I want to ask you to write down on those Post-its, hey, why am I here? Don't put your name on it, okay? Don't draw a picture of your spouse on it and with a finger pointing at it. Why are you here? I want to reset. I want to refresh. Or maybe you write on there what needs to change or what needs to shift in my life and my marriage. Hey, I haven't been emotionally available. I feel we've gone disconnected. I feel we're in a different season of our life and we've kind of grown apart. We're not communicating well. Sex has become an issue. Whatever it may be, why are you here? If you don't have Post-its, raise your hand and we'll get you some if you guys think not get any of those. So I want you to take that Post-it, I want you to write something on there, and then you're going to get up and you're going to put it on that poster. Okay? So write, why am I here? Or you can write, what needs to change? What needs to shift in our marriage? And I want you to get up from your seat, and this is called being active, and I want one of you to put it on the posters that are on each side of this room, please. It's okay, and spouses, don't tell your spouse this is why you're here, just so you know.
Are we just using one Post-it?
You can use 1 or 2 Post-its. You can use 3. If you want to do a whole book, that's up to you. Whatever you'd like. Do you want to come down? Come on down. All right, good job. All right. You want to go over there?
Yep.
All right, thank you guys for doing that. Part of this, when you're doing this, is actually, it's a little bit of a declaration, right? This moment where you're kind of stepping out and you're saying, no, I'm showing up here, I'm seated here, this is great, but I'm also making this statement, like, to put it up here and say, this is why I'm actually here. And I appreciate you guys doing that. Hopefully I'm okay still walking over here, not going to get any feedback. Okay. Now, I don't know whose these are, okay? But part of this, when we do this, is that you understand, hey, we're not alone. We're not alone. We all have stuff that's going on. There's needs that we all have and issues that we're all encountering. I want my wife to know I love her. Have you told her? I know it sounds really funny and maybe a little bit simple, but oftentimes we just don't, right? Better verbal communication. I love that. To find a deeper connection. Investing in our relationship, feeling disconnected, a little finding things to connect. Again, there's a huge chasm. I don't know how to get through it. I don't know how to get on the other side of that chasm. To learn how to be a better husband, how to be a godly spouse. To reset, to reconnect, to revitalize. I feel that we are disconnected. To find a connection again. And what's interesting about that is we tend to see that one quite often. How often in our marriage and our lives, as life happens, sometimes we turn around and realize, hey, how did we get here? How did we get to this spot? But to find a connection again. Again. What does that mean? We were once there. How many of us have, likely at moments and seasons of our lives, have allowed other things into our marriage to speak louder than anything? We have jobs, we have careers, we have these things, and life happens. It's not where we intended or where we would start. But we feel disconnected. Thank you for the lights, because I could not see any of this. To refresh. I want to be a better listener. I want to be a better friend to my spouse. That redhead over there is my best friend. I call her my buddy sometimes, and she hates it. She hates when I call her buddy. I'm like, hey, buddy. She doesn't like it. But that's who I get to do life with. I get to. Through the difficulties, the struggles, the brokenness, to the moments when she's not my favorite person. I get to. I don't have to. I don't have to endure a lot of what some of the stuff you guys may have posted up here. I get to. I get to be on that journey with her. It's my best friend. Remember standing at the altar? Shan, what do you have over there?
Well, I have a really funny one. My wife told me we were going to a gun show.
All right, I'll take off my jacket and show you. Where are you at? Okay. I love that. I love it. They're probably sitting in the back of the room. tapping their foot, waiting.
To become more available to my wife, to be with her and present.
Wow.
Which I love.
Isn't that powerful to be available and to be present? Like I told you, like we live in 38 feet, right, in the work that we're currently doing going across the country. And I can be in the same room and not be present. I can be with her all day and not been present with her. Because there's something called this digital human pacifier that we have here that distracts, that we are having an affair with it as opposed to with our spouse. And I can be with her and not be with her, not be connected. That's good.
Set an example for our kids.
Wow, that's powerful. Right.
Bring God into our marriage, spirit of humility and service. It's that whole I don't have to, I get to mentality that is our motto around here. To trust again. Trust has been broken and it can be restored because but God. God. To learn God's ways for me to be the best husband for my wife. I love that. That just shows humility.
You know what I love? A lot of this, and a lot of what we're hearing is the desire, right? Yeah. The desire you have to see these things in your marriage. And a lot of you are writing this because you were there. You've had that, and you desire to have that again. But here's the thing. Desire and devotion are not the same thing. Desire and devotion are not the same thing. You can desire all you want all day long, but you must be devoted to doing the work to see that come to fruition. You have to be devoted to that. What else do you have?
I've been an avoider and a blamer. So you're on the right track because you're already taking ownership, and that is so key to moving forward for health and restoration to come to your marriage.
Yeah. How many of you are avoiders? How many of you have carpets in your house with large lumps in them from everything you've been sweeping underneath it? A few of you? Yeah. Avoiders. Unite. Yes.
I love this one. I'm here to help understand how to help my partner feel spiritually protected as a team.
Wow.
Isn't that powerful?
That is powerful. Whoever wrote that, can you come up and teach it?
So many good ones.
Give me one more.
Because we love one another and we want to grow together, not apart.
Yeah, no, that's powerful. So it's a little shocking to me because Pastor Chuck said that you guys have no problems. Like this church is pretty solid when it comes to marriage. So it is shocking, all of this up here. No. It's evident that we all have something going on. That we walk in the room, we show up for a reason. And again, we honor you for being in that place. And this is just for you to have just a quick reminder that, again, that you are not alone. So I want to do something with you real quick. Men, I'd love for you to please stand up. Let me talk to you for a moment, men. And we'll do this throughout our morning. And this is not just putting everything on you. We know there are two people in the marriage. But men, most of this falls on us as God ordained us to lead. And I often understand when I say, men, you need to lead, some of us don't have a picture of what that looks like. Did not have a picture of that, maybe even growing up. Do not have it today. So I understand there's some things we can unpack, which we do in our boot camps. We unpack with men, what does it mean to actually lead? But God ordained us to lead. Yet, men, too many times we retreat instead of moving towards our wives emotionally. We feel we may not have what it takes, and the enemy is after each and every one of us. Because here's what the enemy knows, men. The enemy knows that if he can get you, he can get your wife and your children. That's his aim. That's the target, is on you. He is after you. And what we have seen time and time again, that we've allowed him into our marriage. At times we have not stood and fought for our wives and families. We've allowed fear, self-doubt, and that false story to run our lives. I grew up with a false story that I didn't have what it took, that I had to earn the acceptance, the affirmation of other men because I didn't feel I had what it took as a man. I get it. Masculinity is bestowed, and I didn't get that from my father. There's a spiritual battle, and your enemy is Satan. Amen. Make no mistake that you are, men, in a spiritual battle daily, and his intent is to take you out. Right now, his intent is to take you out. But men, we are designed to do what? To do hard things. Not complaining about your marriage when it's difficult. And it may be. We are meant to do hard things. Every day we should be waking up and deciding, I will be a great person to be married to. My choices and decisions will align with the kind of marriage I desire to have. Every day, men, you should be asking yourself, how can I love her better today? How can I serve her today? How can I today die before I die? How can I die today? Because marriage is meant to kill you. It is meant to kill self. Men's self-protection was never the goal. That was never the goal. It was never the invitation to you in marriage. Yet 85% of men surveyed say they feel powerless in their marriage. They feel stuck. They're not sure what to do. And most men will live in avoidance, self-doubt, not wanting to endure the pain to get to the freedom. And so what happens, men, and a lot of us have done this, we put ourselves in the waiting position. Waiting, silently hoping, maybe today she will be into me. Maybe today she'll be in a better mood. Maybe today she's feeling more amorous and loving. Maybe today. But how are you showing up in your marriage? And waiting? Are you active or are you passive? Are you a leader in your marriage? Or are you a follower? God is inviting you men in this moment today to step up. I'm calling you out to step up, to rescue the beauty, to fight for her heart, to pursue her. Because men, in this story, you are not the princess. Should I say it again? You are not the princess. You go after her. You move towards Goliath. You don't retreat. You don't pull back. You move towards you because that's what God has called and ordained you to do. Look around you. If you attend this church, you are not alone. You have brothers to lock arms with when you say, I have no idea what to do right now in this season. Men, get on your knees before God. Repent and turn. Your wives are waiting, calling you to be the man that God has called you to be. Men, you go first. The first to love, the first to forgive, the first to pursue, to own, to serve, to change, the first to lead by example. Your marriage is begging for a hero. And if not you, then who? Then who will it be? There's a quote by a good friend of mine who wrote a book called Better Man, Better Marriage. He says, this is your defining moment. It is your opportunity to grow, men, to evolve, to move past your past, to reach deeper than you've ever reached, to love more, to laugh more, to figure out what matters and what doesn't, to turn off social media, to write your own story, to become braver, kinder, more patient, more generous, more truthful, more compassionate, more self-aware, to become a man worth following. This is the call God has given us to lead, to be a man worth following. Listen, one of the first questions that was ever asked in the Bible was asked to Adam. And you know what he asked him? Where are you? Adam, where are you? I ask that to you men right now. Where are you? Why have we retreated in our hiding? Why have we pulled back? When we have the daughter of the Most High King sitting with you that you're called to give yourself for. Where are you? It's easy to blame just like Adam did. This woman you gave me. From the day one, we blamed. Oh, I think you made a mistake here, God. This woman, she gave me this. No, this woman you gave me, she made me do this. No. And where was he? Not leading. Where are you? Are you actively present with your family? The decisions you make daily will impact generations, right? Most men think about a good time, not a good legacy. And we are called to lay our lives down and give ourselves as Christ gave his life for the church. He gave his life for the church. God sent Jesus to redeem and pay the price for something that was not his fault. Jesus paid the price for something that was not. Intimacy with God is not a priority. Your marriage will be the same. And listen, there's no such thing as priorities in your life. That's ridiculous. How can you have 5 priorities? That means nothing's important. Nothing. You have one priority, and that is God. That's it. And when that is your priority, everything else will fall into proper order. And so if my one priority is God in the center of my marriage, everything else will fall into proper order. That is how it works. So we have to understand the purpose of marriage is God, and then come back to our first love. Amen? That was a little longer of a first session than we normally do, so thank you for bearing with us. What we're going to do right now is we're going to give you a little bit of a breather, give you a little bit of a break. Sam, I don't know what time they need to be back. Is it 10-minute break? Okay, so take a 10-minute break, go to the restroom, and we'll jump into the next session, which will be a little bit more practical. So thank you guys. We'll see you in about 10 minutes.